शिंदे, इंदौर से सरदार मल्हार राव होळकर।
बोल धरती जयकारा, गगन है सारा गूंजा रे। जग में लहराया न्यारा ध्वज है हमारा ऊंचा रे।
हम वो योद्धा वो।
All right, we are live. This is Shriman Virabhadra, and today we are talking about how Dana White and Zuffa are a cancer to the sport of boxing, bro. This is absolute crazy, bro. Absolute crazy work. Easy work cooking these clowns. They think they're cool because they're signing these guys. They signed Hot Rod, right? They just now signed Andy Ruiz, right? They just now signed a couple of other heavyweights. Of course, we already heard about them signing Jayo Pataya earlier, a little bit more than a week ago. So we have to definitely look at the full picture here. Dana White is basically an American puppet for Riyadh's season within the United States. That's all that is. That's all that is. And they're trying to do this to cover up the foreign influence within the sport. Now listen close, because this is really, really important. Because it's led to Dana White violating the Ali Act, right? You're not supposed to be pushing these belts the way they have. Opataya versus Glanton. Opataya is the IBF and Ring Magazine champion, yeah? The IBF, and you're just up there. You're just up there saying this fight is for the Zuffa belt. You know what this is going to do to Jayo Pataya's career once he finds, once they find out that, oh, he can't bring the IBF belt on a stage or something like that. I'm not for sure, man. We need clarity to see if this belt is indeed, or this bout is indeed involving that IBF belt. Because the fact that they do not, he said that he will not recognize the other sanctioning bodies. And the fact that he's trying to operate this like a league already, which is in clear violation, by the way, especially when they're starting to issue belts. And March 8th, or the beginning of March, we will see them officially on paper violating the Ali Act, when there has been no act in Congress and people are just sitting back and pretending that this is just a simple as usual business decision by a promoter. People need to realize that the clown show is up. Turkey al-Sheikh is backing Dana White to come and screw the market in the United States to complete and total shit. And people, they seem to keep buying it and buying it. The Paramount Plus is about good enough to watch other sports than Zuffa. Yes, it has produced some knockouts. Yes. But you also have to look at who is running the show there. And the fact that they're already set to violate the Ali Act in early March when they issue their cruiserweight belt to the IBF champion. That's what they're trying to set up as Opataya winning the Zuffa cruiserweight belt. Look at the Ali Act. You're not supposed to be doing that, bro. And trying to be working in accordance with the other sanctioning bodies. Because Zuffa is not a sanctioning body, they should not be issuing their own rankings or belts as of yet because it has not been passed through Congress to allow them to do so. It is that simple. And people are just saying, oh, everything is fine. No, it is not. Look at the Ali Act. It says it clean as day. They're sitting here running their own business and disregarding the Ali Act. And people are sitting here buying into this shit. People may listen. People may disregard this and keep on going with the fights that they're given from watching it on Paramount Plus or streaming it elsewhere or fire sticking it. It is what it is. People are going to watch something that produces knockouts. But the fact of the matter is, how long can they stay in the industry if they are already violating the Ali Act? That is my biggest question now. Because issuing belts, creating your own rankings is in violation of the Ali Act when you're working with fighters in accordance to the sanctioning bodies. It is clear as day in the rule book. It's clear as day in the Ali Act, bro. You can't be doing this stuff. And people, I saw a couple of other channels, they were praising Zuffa boxing, basically. They were basically praising it. Rap star praising them. I'm like, dude, you're not even you're not even in the United States. You're not even seeing what happened to the fighter, to the market in the United States. Because everybody started investing in heavyweights that are from abroad or international fighters, better yet said. And people expect someone like me to sit back and stay quiet about this. No way in hell. No way. Because the whole entire moral compass gets destroyed once you think that one promoter can already start pulling the rules when he hasn't even been given permission by Congress itself. Because a congressional act is required for him to operate business the way he already is operating business. And they have not passed one bill. They made it through one little committee that voted in accordance with it. One small committee out of tons of committees. And Dana White has the audacity, and I should say, and Zuffa Boxing has the audacity to put their foot down in a way where they're bringing all this other stuff without the permission to do so. And now we are going to get to somebody who is also an issue to Zuffa, in accordance to Zuffa Boxing and in the sport of boxing. I have received various reports coming from Oscar, like people surrounding Oscar De La Hoya and people who are close to Oscar. And they have made it known to me that the situation with Virgil Ortiz and Rick Meridian has gone to a point of no return. Rick Meridian is in violation of the Ali Act for going and negotiating with networks, which is a promoter's job. And in specifically Zuffa boxing. So Rick Meridian is working is low key trying to set Virgil Ortiz up with Zuffa boxing. And Oscar De La Hoya found out about it. So you're damn right that Virgil will be on the bench. He will be on the shelf for a good 2 years. Unless he if he drops his manager, apologizes to Oscar De La Hoya, bring on a manager that actually gives a shit about his career and that's not trying to drive him to fight in Zuffa boxing. That right there is the big issue, is a manager that has one of the biggest fighters in the sport of boxing trying to jump ship. Trying to jump ship to Zuffa, bro. And you already know how Oscar feels about Dana White and Turki Al-Sheikh and what they are doing to the sport and how they're trying to change the sport in the United States, in which he does not agree with. And I side with Oscar De La Hoya on this issue. I have made this apparent time and time again. It is that simple. They are absolutely compromised. Rick Meridian is a compromised manager. We need to get him out of the sport of boxing now. He is already he literally tried to negotiate. Him tried to negotiate a way to get Virgil Ortiz into Zuffa, and Oscar picked up on it real fast because the world, people in this day and age, you got to keep your circles really, really close, especially where you let out information, especially where you go out and do things. And, Oscar De La Hoya, he's not going to take an ass screwing. He has already dealt with people shitting on him over his cocaine addiction and all this other stuff like 10 years ago. We already seen that part of Oscar De La Hoya. I mean, the only thing I've really seen Oscar, like, he's always hyped up. Sometimes I see him smoking a joint during Clapback Thursday. Like, I have no problem with Oscar De La Hoya. He's a man. He's fought his demons. He's done what he's need to do in order to, get back and make that money. And Dana White, he's an issue. Rick Meridian, he's an issue because he tried to pull Virgil into a contract with Zuffa Boxing, negotiating with a network that would lead him into fighting with Zuffa Boxing. And you think Oscar De La Hoya is not gonna come out and say you are being a absolute demon right now. I am going to destroy you. Because Meridian is absolutely crossing all business boundaries to the very, very last point. One of the biggest scumbags I've ever seen in this sport is Rick Meridian, for example, because look at what he's doing with a promising fighter's career. You're going to end up putting Virgil Ortiz on the shelf. Virgil Ortiz. I like the fighter. I don't like who his manager is. I want to make that completely clear. He is a good fighter. And I still think he needs to settle that beef with Xander. But he needs to straighten this shit up with his manager before he ends up 2 years, 3 years out of the ring in the middle of the prime of his career. He needs to straighten this shit up. Because the best thing he can do is contact Oscar De La Hoya and ask Oscar, can you find me a better manager that I can work with? Or you can go and find a manager yourself who you know is in the sport of boxing that will produce the numbers that will give you the fights that you need. But also a manager that complies with the Ali Act and lets the promoter do his job. It's that simple. That's how the sport of boxing works on the business side, especially. And now this Zuffa boxing thing has gotten way too far. This Virgil Ortiz thing, this whole situation. I've warned people for a long time that it is a cancer to the sport of boxing. You can look it up right now in Oscar De La Hoya's lawsuit, his countersuit to a Virgil Ortiz. It says it in clear detail that Rick Meridian was attempting to work or was working in accordance to Zuffa boxing. That is what Oscar filed in that lawsuit. It's an important situation because, you know, people are saying Golden Boy doesn't have a network deal. Well, they kind of work with different networks. Virgil Ortiz seems kind of confused. He seems like he's being led down the wrong path. Rick Meridian is just trying to get him away from the sport, and the fact that I'm going to do my research to find out if Rick Meridian and Dana White and Zuffa, if there are any connections in between them. I'm going to do my full research, and if I find any connections, there will be nowhere for Rick Meridian to run, because I know where in the United States this case was filed, and I know that they're looking for all kinds of evidence that would be supporting either side. And this right here, I want to save Virgil's career, of course, and I propose you guys do the same. You guys need to reach out to Virgil and tell him to drop his manager Meridian right now before he ends up dragging him down a 2-year dip in the middle of his prime. Let's just be real. Everybody just has to look at the way the sport is now. I mean, it's like, so what? Zuffa boxing brought in all these cats. But they can also run off and do something else. They could also get out of those contracts. So they claim. But Zuffa boxing is the biggest clown show I've ever seen. I mean, their venues have been in a warehouse. The Apex is nothing but a glorified warehouse. It's that simple, bro. Absolute clown worthy. And I can't take that seriously. So, Zuffa, how about you try actually doing an event that's not in a musty warehouse? And how about you get the hell out of the sport of boxing? And Zuffa, as a whole entire entity, get the hell out of the sport and go back to MMA. This is Shriman Virabhadra signing out.
चमके सितारे देखो हमारे शत्रु तो सारे हारे जय हो हम वो सिपाही जो है सदा ही रूप शिवा का धारे जय हो हे आज अंधेरे छटे हैं कम हुए हैं घटे हैं कल जो दुश्मन यहाँ थे आज पीछे हटे हैं गाती ये धरती है गाता ये अंबर है गाती है सारी हवा तेरे मन में शिवा मेरे मन में शिवा सांसों में शिवा प्राणों में शिवा हर घड़ी में शिवा हर दिशा में शिवा आज गुंजा हुआ है जय जय शिवा तेरे मन में शिवा मेरे मन में शिवा सांसों में शिवा प्राणों में शिवा हर घड़ी में शिवा हर दिशा में शिवा आज गुंजा हुआ है जय जय शिवा तेरे मन में शिवा
छत्रपती सह्याद्रीचा आठवे शिवाजी राजा आज गा वंदितो तुम्हा शिवराया राहू दे कृपेची छाया आठवे शिवाजी राजा आज गा
सारी दीवारें भी सारी तलवारें भी तुमने दुश्मन की अब तोड़ दी है। आई थी आंधियां जिस दिशा से यहाँ उस दिशा मोड़ती है।
पार उतरना ही था ये तो करना ही था ये तो होना ही था, सुन ले भाऊ। उनको जाना ही था हमको आना ही था, ये तो होना था भाऊ।
हाँ, देश भी आज अपना है, देश पे राज अपना है। अपना ही तो सिंहासन है और जो है ताज अपना है। हिम्मत की अग्नि में लोहा पिघलता है, विश्वास हमको हुआ। तेरे मन में शिवा,
मेरे मन में शिवा,
सांसों में शिवा,
प्राणों में शिवा,
हर घड़ी में शिवा,
हर दिशा में शिवा।
आज गुंजा हुआ है जय जय शिवा। तेरे मन में शिवा, मेरे मन में शिवा, सांसों में शिवा, प्राणों